do you want to run through that together real quick on this?
Sure, I would
You
love
can
to.
handle
My
it.
brain is like so full of information. I'm like every second, I'm like, am I doing this right?
Yeah, I ask that every 30 seconds, so it's
Every
okay.
30 seconds.
All right, so hold up one sec. Make sure there's nothing. All right. Can you see this?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna try to expand this just a little bit. There we go. That's easier. All right, so let's go through a few numbers. So first would be the mortgage. So you said the mortgage balance was what, roughly?
360,000.
Okay, so 360,000 at, 3 point whatever, 2.5. Okay. So do you have like a mortgage statement?
I have a really old one and
That's fine.
yeah, we had to, do you want me to, what should I do? Share my screen?
So, no, it's okay. Just give me these numbers. So, what you want to look at when you're looking at wrapping a property is you always want to look at what is the principal and the interest
Yeah.
breakdown. So, what is the principal and interest combined? You
Let
know?
me go find this
Yeah, yeah.
thing that I had. Okay, so I would have put it in properties. There it is. Okay. And the mortgage statement.
And is how do you pronounce your name? Is it Shah or am I messing that up?
Yes, Shah.
Shah. Okay. I was like, geez, I hope I get this right. Okay. So, are you familiar with subject to at all or wraps, or have you ever heard of any of those things?
Not the details of it, or I've never done that, but yeah, that's actually something that I'm very interested in and want to know. I know
Okay.
it's like harder and harder to find them these days.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I know a little bit about it, but I would love to
Okay.
know more and like how you guys do it.
Cool. And we can get more into the details like later on this call too. But so she's basically breaking out a deal that she's looking at purchasing subject to, so taking over the payments on it, where she would make the payments on the mortgage. It would stay in the seller's name, right? The loan. She would have ownership. And at that point, she's going to try to find somebody that can't get a bank loan, that needs owner financing, someone to basically act as their bank. She's going to sell that property to them at a higher price, a higher interest rate. They're going to make payments to her, and then she's going to make payments to the mortgage that she
Hmm.
took subject to. So she's going to make the interest in between. So we can kind of break all this down on how it works, but at a high level, like that's a somewhat basic way of explaining it. There is a lot that can go into it.
Mhm.
And I can tell you this too, like in my personal opinion, once you learn how to pitch it the right way and like the leads and how to find them, I think getting sub two deals now is easier than ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not everyone's experience. But I can tell you, like, if you know the right places to look, especially for people that are like motivated that could really use your help as the investor,
Mhm.
you can find some really good sub two deals. So we can talk about that. But what do you found that principal and interest payment?
Yeah, so principal is 699.46
Hmm.
and interest is 967.10, so 968 and 700.
So what is that total? 700 plus a thousand,
Oh,
basically, right?
yeah.
So let's say it's 1680 is the
Okay, yeah.
combined principal interest, roughly, right?
Yeah, and then taxes and insurance are escrowed in there.
Correct. So taxes and insurance, and I'm just explaining this to everybody. So taxes and insurance are going to get passed on when you go to sell it, right? It's going to get passed on to that new buyer because they're the owners. That means they're responsible for taxes and insurance. So the only thing you have to worry about as the investor is what is the principal and interest payment that I have to pay
Hmm.
versus what is the principal and interest payment that my new buyer is paying me. Because the
Gotcha.
difference
Okay.
between those two numbers is going to be your cash flow every month.
Mm.
So let's look at that now. So we have 360 balance, principal and interest 1680. You said behind 40 grand.
Yes.
So the 360 is that on the mortgage statement, does that say unpaid principal balance?
365.50 unpaid principal balance.
Okay, perfect. So when you reinstate, let's just call this an entry for now. When you reinstate the loan and you bring it current and you put 40 grand into it, some of that is going to go towards paying down the principal.
Oh, it will. And
Mhm.
I know that Washington, I forget the exact like bill number. It was like RW.5 or something, but they just passed a law. I was going to look more into it about forbearance. Um,
Mhm.
and since the brother's not on the title, If we could get that signed off on, we might be able to add some of these payments to the back of the loan.
That would be even better.
Yeah, that would be really great.
That would be
That's what
amazing
I'm hoping
because,
for.
the homeowner's obviously in foreclosure. So,
Yeah.
or about to be. So, yeah, if you can get them on the back of the loan, I will tell you there's some complications with that, where if you take it would need to happen before you took ownership of the property, obviously.
Right.
Otherwise, you're bordering like mortgage fraud and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So be careful with that. And I'm not saying that you would ever do that. I know that I almost made that mistake not knowing that. So
Okay.
there's that. And also, usually, whenever there's like a loan modification or some kind of mortgage assistance, when they put that on the back end of the loan, most of the time there's going to be what they call like a trial period where you have to make 3 months of consecutive payments
Okay.
to prove that you can actually still afford this payment. And what ends up
So
happening,
can I like interject a question?
sure.
So if her brother is not moved out because her brother's still there, so the
Hmm.
order I was going to do it in is try to find this other signer, whatever, then get the brother out, like do a cash for keys.
Hmm.
Um, so if say like they wanted to see 3 months payments in order to do it on the back end, and I'm
Hmm.
not, the buyer yet, could I do something where I do like an option to purchase in three
Hmm.
months
Yeah,
contingent on,
potentially. Yeah,
okay,
potentially.
contingent, and then that would give us more time to
Yeah.
get the brother out and get this other signer.
Hmm. That's a really creative way of looking at it. I think that the thing that I would be careful of, and I would consult with Creative TC. They're really good to work with, and I can connect
Oh,
you with somebody if you want me to.
thank you. Yes, I would
I
love
would
that.
I would recommend speaking with them about it because they manage all of my creative deals like this. And Marcelo is one of my best friends. He's moving here to Nashville actually, and he's amazing. He can walk you through just making sure that you're like not doing anything that's
I would
borderline.
love that because
Because
that's what I'm most afraid of is doing something wrong that costs me big time without
Yeah,
even
well, because I have
knowing.
one recently that we just bought that same situation. They actually got approved for the loan modification right before we closed. And so this
Wow.
was going to be like 15, 20 grand put on the back end that I wouldn't have to bring to closing. And I'm like,
Wow.
that's amazing. That's great. But now there's this 3 month trial period. And so what ends up happening is even if you do a lease option, for example, if they can like find, and this is very unlikely, just
Hmm.
be fair, and you're not going to like go to jail. It's one thing, but I try to stay away from anything that's going to keep me up at night like that
Yeah.
at all. And so what I'm opting out to do is I'm literally still going to reinstate the loan for the 20 grand and just not deal with it because otherwise, if they can prove that I coached them through this process and made the 3 months payments for them, at the end of those three payments, I'm getting really in the weeds here, but at the end of three payments, they have to sign a sworn affidavit that they're still occupying the property. And
Oh,
there's a whole thing with it.
okay.
So it's a very serious matter. So just be careful with that. If they can afford to make 3 months payments, then maybe that's an option. And that's their call. What you do after that is you can't get in trouble for. But it's
I see what,
designed to
so if
keep them
we
in the
were the
home.
ones paying that,
Yeah.
or like, then I
Yeah.
see what you're saying,
Because
how that could
at
get,
the end of the day, and then I'll move on from this.
yeah,
This loan modification or forbearance is designed to be able to keep them in the home,
that's right.
not designed for an investor to save money on the front end. Right? And so like you got to think about it from that perspective, right? But
Yeah.
you're right. I think you're doing all the right stuff.
Okay.
So entry 40 grand, let's just call it that. And so this principal payment probably is going to go down to um you'd have to see how many payments were missed, right?
Hmm.
And then it's like look at the principal total and that would pay down. Let's just say this gets paid down to like 350. I don't know. Okay. So that's the real like unpaid principal balance. Loans
Hmm.
current, you taking over the payments, perfect. All right. Now, second thing, what are we going to sell this property for? So you think the property is worth what roughly, like as is?
Upper fours, lower fives,
Okay. Do you want to just say like 480?
480. Yeah, that's
Okay.
lower end.
480. Okay. Now, when you're owner financing homes, generally you can sell these properties for higher because you're offering financing. Like I've sold properties on average, like anywhere from like 5 to 10% above like what it would sell like retail on the market.
Okay.
So now if you want to get it moved quickly, which is what I would recommend at this point, I've gotten more into that versus trying to maximize the price.
Mm.
I would sell it probably just at 480 and make it a steal for someone because you're still getting a great deal.
Yeah.
But whatever. Let's say you want to sell it for 500. Perfect. That's your price. So what kind of down payment are we looking for? Obviously, we're looking for as close to 10% as possible. That's
Hmm.
kind of the ideal. If we get more, even better. But
Okay.
let's say we're getting 50 grand. So we get 50K down, which means our mortgage is going to be what, 450?
Hmm.
That's what they're going to owe us, right, on the second mortgage. Now, what are we going to mark this at? It's hard to say. I don't really play in this price point. Usually when I'm playing like 2 to 300,000 range, maybe 400,
Okay.
I'll be anywhere from like 7 to 7.9%. I try to be fair to people. Like I want to give them a good opportunity to own a home, but we got to charge something, a little bit
Hmm.
higher than what the banks are going to charge because we're taking a risk with these people. Like these are usually people that can't get a bank loan, right? So they are
Yeah.
riskier by nature. So I would say on something like this, like you want to make it affordable for someone. What were you thinking? Did you have an idea in mind of what you were going to charge?
I don't know. I mean, I thought maybe just going with like the going mortgage rate right now, or
Mhm. Yeah, I would
maybe.
say I think the mortgage, I don't know what it is right now, but you could maybe charge like let's just say 7%. I
Okay.
think you could do that. 6.5 to 7. So let's say you charge 7%. So now let's go into our handy calculator here. I don't know if you can see the screen. All right.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, this one's great. So 450. I can't tell you how many times this has like become my best friend. All right. I like have dreams and nightmares of just this screen. All right.
Just
So, all right. So you put that in 30 years, 7%, 450. Monthly payment's going to be basically 3,000 a month.
hmm.
So we're going to write that down. So remember that's your P&I. So P&I is 3,000 a month. Okay, so this is looking like a really good deal if you can make these numbers work, right?
And
So,
did you say so can when I said that the interest and taxes or the uh,
mhm.
yeah, that they're in the insurance and taxes, that they're in the thing, and you said who pays those? Is the person who's buying it from me, like the
Yeah, exactly.
oh, they pay it. Okay, I wanted to
Mhm.
make sure. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're responsible for paying that. So and how we make it work since it's already in escrow and it's already like on top of this payment here,
Hmm.
right? What you do is you still pay that. So this payment
Yeah.
may be, let's say your payment's like 2,000, right? Because there's an
Hmm.
additional 300 in escrow. You just take that 300 and you just pass that on to this payment. So their
Wow.
payment would be like 3,300 to you. It just passes through.
Yeah, cool.
You
Okay.
just pass that on to them. That's the easiest way I can explain it. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
And we can talk more about that, but that's kind of the first part. So let's look at like our profit on the deal for this. So number one would be our cash. So we spent 40 grand to get into the deal. We got 50 back. So, roughly 10,000 on that. Obviously, you have closing costs and holding costs and
Hmm.
things like that. So maybe this nets at, 5 grand or something like that. Let's
Hmm.
just call it that. So 5K upfront or break even, that's fine. Second thing we want to think about is what's our cash flow. So what is on this? Like 1,300 a month, something like
Hmm.
that. So cash flow on this, 1,300 a month. That's really strong for one deal. This is kind of what we were talking about, shots. Like instead of having six tenants, you could do this with one person and make
Hmm.
1,300 a month on a deal. And then last thing you want to look at, which is honestly my favorite part besides the cash flow, is the equity,
Hmm.
right? Which would be, can anyone tell me what that number would be based off of what I've shown here? It's a lot written down. So
Uh,
What is it that
no, you can't help.
uh
You know all the answers.
would it be
Get out of here.
70,000 in equity? Or no, would it be 90,000, 100,000 in equity?
What
No,
are the two numbers? What are the two numbers that can you show me the two numbers that we need in order to figure that out?
I don't think so.
It's okay. It's
I
okay.
was thinking the purchase price we got it for. Oh, but then we put in 40K too.
Hmm.
So then I
Shop.
was thinking what we're selling it for is our equity, right? The difference between that.
It's close. Yeah. Any
There
other
we go.
thoughts?
So if you sell it for 500K, it is 50K down. So that's part of your equity. And also, I'm looking at 350K. That was the original loan amount.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
is like 150.
Oh,
Close. So think about this. How much does our borrower now, our buyer, right? How much do they owe us on the mortgage?
450,
450,
450. How much do we owe on the mortgage?
360
350.
or 350. Yeah.
Yeah,
350.
either 350, 360. Yeah, 350. So what's our equity?
Uh,
That's 100.
100,000.
100,000.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I
yeah.
see where y'all are coming from. It's like how much you put into it and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, that's accounted for here.
Hmm.
What we put into it versus what we got back is there. Our
Okay.
actual equity, after all that is settled, is this. So this means that the moment they either sell it or
Refinance.
they refinance it out, let's say in 3 to 5 years, they're going to call you and they're going to say, "Hey, we need to get a payoff for this, and we also need to send you a check for $100,000." Is
Sweet.
that okay? Is that okay? Is that happy Saturday? Hope you're having a good day, you know? So does that make sense though? So
Yeah.
like that's kind of the profit. So basically in this deal, which is crazy to say, you're essentially getting paid $5,000 up front to create an income stream that makes you $1,300 a month to then pay you $100,000 in
Wow.
3, 5, 6, 7 years.
It's amazing.
Now, okay, that sounds that this is where I could be like, all right, let me sell you the course, $10,000. Here we go. But like there's also obviously risk with it. It could take you 3, 6, 9 months to sell a house.
Hmm.
Now, it's never taken me that long. It usually takes me like 3 to 4 months.
Hmm.
It's kind of like the longest that I've had. Some of them run a month or two, and I can tell you like different strategies to find buyers quickly.
Okay.
But you definitely don't want to rush it and pick the wrong buyer either,
Hmm.
because you're gonna have to deal with that person long term. So, any questions on this or like any thoughts based off of this? Because it's a powerful strategy. It's one
And
of my
Um, I have a quick question. Some other exits we were looking at
uh-huh.
is doing a because it's really close to like school, universities and hospitals and stuff like that. So we thought about doing like a workforce housing, student housing.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously that's a lot more work on our part, but more cash flow too. And then another thing that we were talking about, oh gosh, I think I might have just lost it. Um, so yeah, we were looking at maybe doing that as an exit. Oh, and then another thing is both my partner and I do a lot of work with nonprofits. So we
Hmm.
thought about potentially like master leasing this to a nonprofit. And depending on how much they're able to spend, maybe they'd take care of the insurance and taxes too. But do you think it's a good idea to look at other exits as well, or do you always recommend like the easiest?
Hmm. Yeah. I always recommend looking at every exit strategy depending on what your goals are, obviously, as the
Yeah.
investor and where you are right now in your journey.
Hmm.
Like for me, I think the biggest mistake that I made starting out was buying like too many rentals. Like I bought rentals and it was great because I'm like, oh, all these have 2.5, 3% interest rates and it's great. I mean, I have
Yeah.
one that I talked about the other day that has a 0% rate for 30 years. So it's like that one I'm never passing up. But the ones that are like that break even or they make a little bit of money, it's like if I turned around and sold those deals on a wrap and they cash flow at 1,000 a month, it's like I think
Right.
that's hurting me like starting out.
Okay.
But if it's something like in a prime location that you like really like I got one that the other day, which I can tell you all the story. It's the craziest deal I've ever come across in my entire life. It's probably 7 minutes from my house. And I love this area, and I want it to be for like my family in the future. Like if any of them want to be able to stay there, so I'm gonna keep it as a rental, even
Hmm.
though like numbers wise, it probably makes more sense to like flip it because we're getting it really like cheap. So it's
Hmm.
like it would be business smart for me to take the money now, but sometimes you got to make those decisions for yourself of like what do I actually want long term, and if you feel
That's
like it's
true.
going to appreciate really well, because I can tell you this, your cash flow is almost 100% of the time always going to be better if you own or finance it
Okay.
because you don't have taxes, you don't have insurance, and you don't have repairs.
Mm.
And you also don't have vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I
And
mean,
if we're gonna wrap this,
Mhm.
do you typically recommend 3 year, 5 year? Is it just what the person's like looking for? I mean, and you just decide case by case, or
like length of term,
yeah.
we always do a 30-year term because here's kind of the reason why. The reason why it's called a wrap. Remember, you have your existing terms, your
Mm,
ET, and then you're going to create new terms
right.
that wrap around it.
Okay.
So if your length of term on this is, let's say, I don't know how many more years is left on the mortgage, let's say it's 26 years,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
then your wrap has to be more than that.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So you can't amortize it over 15 years. That wouldn't make sense. So you
Right.
got to amortize it over 30 at least. You know, you're asking
Mm-hmm.
about like a balloon, right? It's like when is it actually due? Get them to pay it off
Mm-hmm.
early. Um, with consumers, you have to be very careful about balloons.
Okay.
I know people that do it. I don't personally do it. I always do a 30-year term because most of the time they sell it or refinance it or default and stop making payments
Okay.
within like 3 to like 7 years.
Interesting.
I don't
Okay.
know
That,
anyone that's gone really much longer than that. I mean,
yeah.
most people move and sell houses anyways within 3 to 7 year periods anyways, or
And
default.
so do you just make it then like your contract friendly, so no prepayment penalty and
Mhm.
all that? Okay.
Exactly. Make it as easy as possible for people. If
Yeah.
they bring the number one thing you want to focus on, and then I'll move on to Shah, is like you want to have a strong down payment. That's the one thing you
Hmm.
don't want to settle for. Don't settle for, hey, I have a $10,000 down payment, but I have an inheritance coming in 6 months as long as my grandfather passes away and blah, blah, blah. People will tell you stories to get the house.
Yeah.
Oh, the reason why I don't have any money is because I did this and blah, blah. I love you and I appreciate you. I'm sorry. I don't care about the story right now.
Yeah.
I don't. And
I
they'll try
agree.
to
It's
sweet
the
talk you into
numbers
it,
have to make sense.
right?
Yeah.
And the other piece of advice I'd give you is whenever you're showing, always show the house
Hmm.
before you talk about the down payment.
It's good.
Because when they ask you, hey, what's the down payment? Let's say the husband calls you. Hey, what's the down payment? I saw your sign on, or I saw the Facebook. Oh, yeah, I don't have a number in mind. And like, we just try to work with people on that. How about you go see the house, see if you even like it, blah, blah, blah. You would be shocked the amount of people that will say, hey, we got 20 grand. Does that
Yeah.
work? And then they see the house, their wife sees it, who is the decision maker, right? And the wife says, hey, you got to sell the truck. I want this house.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they got 50 grand out of nowhere to work
My
with.
partner's an interior designer too, so we've got
Yeah.
that covered.
So there you go. That's my piece of advice.
Okay, thank
Shah,
you.
do you have any questions on that or anything? Any just questions about other stuff?
Yeah, I'm if you can tell me a little bit more, kind of like walk me through the process because
Yeah.
so you find this deal, you find somebody who has basically the deal that Talia is like talking about. So it's like, oh, 3%, 3.5%, there are 360 on it or whatever. And then you basically you buy that property. Is that right? Like you buy that property subject to, you take over the loan and everything. And and then you're trying to like sell it to somebody, like you're trying to rent it for a while and then sell it to somebody, or do you straight like you're looking to sell it to somebody? I'm just a little confused about that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. So let's talk through this. Like let's simplify it. So there's seller and then there's buyer. That's some long hair. All right, sweet. All right. So first thing with the house, there's usually two things involved with the house. Okay. Number one is you have the deed, right?
Hmm.
Which the deed is shows ownership of the property. I own this property, right?
Right.
The second thing we have is what? Anyone?
The mortgage
Mortgage.
or the loan.
Usually. Yeah. The mortgage. Okay. So those things are separate. They're not together. A lot of times they are together. A lot of times the person that owns the house has the mortgage, but not always. Easy example. Um, if a house, someone owns a house with a mortgage, they pass away, their kids inherit the property. They're the owner of the property, but they're not on the mortgage, right? That happens all the time.
Hmm.
That's what we're doing here too. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, seller, you're in a tough spot, or maybe I can give you more money this way because you have a 3% rate or something like that, and you have good terms, and I just can't make it work cash because I'd have to be too low. So then what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to give me the deed. I'm now the owner, but the mortgage is going to stay over here. It's in your name, Mr. Seller. Okay.
Okay.
Does that part make sense so far?
Yes, and I'm assuming that means like the mortgage company's not going to go accelerate and like uh kind of basically want like whatever like the principal balance is on the mortgage that doesn't uh cause any of that problem.
Good question.
I maybe I didn't understand the question. Are you talking about if they're going to have a problem with this happening?
Yeah, what is it? Is that the
The
clause
due
that
on
like
sale
basically
Due
clause.
when you
on
sell
sale
your property,
clause.
the
Yep.
mortgage company kind of says that they
Mhm.
accelerate the deal, right? So they say, okay, now that this is sold and the deed moved from one person to another person, now
Mhm.
they want the entire principal of the mortgage that is basically outstanding to be paid like immediately.
Yeah. That's a good question. You know what's funny is I actually just made a YouTube video on this, where I was talking about the dual and sale clause. So if you, I don't know if you can look up Evan Rags on YouTube, and I literally just posted it
No,
because
yeah,
it
doing
happened.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened on a deal that we were working, and there's easy fixes to it, is all I'll say. But most of the time, no. Most of the time, they do not have an issue. I would do this, but since we're on a recording, I won't. But I'll show you this another time. Like I could show you like several mortgage portals that I can log into that like my name's not on the mortgage. I log in, I make payments every month. They're set up on automatic payments. It's like it's as simple as paying your own mortgage. Like there's no other complications besides explaining it to the seller. And then usually setting up insurance can be a little tricky if you've never done it before. Like those are kind of the two things. And so as long as you're making payments on time and you have insurance set up correctly, because the lender wants to make sure that their asset is protected, right? As long as those two things are covered, 99% of the time you're not going to have a problem. Especially if
And
it's a bigger lender, like if it's PennyMac or Shell Point or Freedom Mortgage, like those are the ones that I wouldn't worry about. If it's one like there are a few that are like infamous for calling them due, like Rocket Mortgage is one that recently has called a lot. So like they're one that I just kind of stay away from. Some smaller ones, like if you get like a really small like local bank, those they keep an eye on because they keep those loans in house. They don't usually originate and then sell them. They keep them in house, so they have a much closer eye on this stuff. Now, there's some
have
lenders that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask a quick question because I couldn't remember when you had talked about this in your previous video.
Mhm.
But you do recommend moving the house into like a trust when you buy it subject to, or is that not something that you really worry about?
I don't recommend that or worry about it. I
Okay.
put it into an LLC.
Okay.
Some people do the trust thing. I would do the trust thing later
Okay.
if something comes up. Like I always think about it like ask for forgiveness later kind of thing, because there's always ways to resolve it. Like
Yeah.
the lender's not going to be like, no, you can't fix it. Like they tell you whenever they call the loan, like one of their resolutions is to deed it back to the original borrower.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they
And then
tell you that.
after you deed it back, if that happened, do they
Hmm.
just deed it back to you? Or- I mean,
Yeah, you could do that. You can play kind of chicken with the mortgage company and just like go, you can deed back and forth. You can totally do that. You can do whatever you want.
okay.
Some people do that. They'll deed it there, and then like 6 months later, they'll deed it back. And sometimes that solves the problem.
Hmm.
For other people, they put it into a trust at that point to kind of create some more like
Gotcha. Separation.
separation. Um, what we ended up doing was purchasing it on like a contract for deed. So it's like instead of title transferring on public record, it's like whenever you know when you buy a car and you have car payments, they don't give you the
Hmm.
title until you pay off the car.
Hmm.
It's the same thing, but you're
Hmm.
still the owner of the car, but you don't
And
have full title until
is
you.
that something you would recommend in a case like this one, doing the contract for deed then?
I would never recommend doing that unless you had to,
Okay.
which you don't. So you're okay. I would say that as like a last resort.
Okay.
There's other problems with it not being like the full owner on title, but it's a good emergency, setting. Worst case, you do that, or maybe you cut your losses, deed it back, or maybe you refinance it. Like there's so many different things you could do. That's why it's so important to buy these with some equity, ideally. That's the important thing. So, anyways, let's get back. So, shot. So, deeds back to you. Let's say there's the due on sale. We're good for that for now. We're just worried about how this deal works. At
Mhm.
this point, every month we're just making payments to that mortgage, right? Now, what's our exit strategy is kind of like the next question. What do we do with it? So, what are some different things we could do? Amir, can you give me one or two or three?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we can keep it as a rental.
Okay.
We can wholesale it,
Yeah.
and then we can wrap it.
Yeah.
We can list it. Yeah, list it on MLS. Yeah.
I don't like that last one, but you can do
What's the
Hopefully
last
not.
one?
The
that.
I
last
was
Oh,
like,
three.
burn
what
it
is
down.
that? It starts with B.
I'm just having fun. It's New Year's Eve. We
No.
gotta have a good time.
Maybe
See
you're
So,
if they're
there. I'm
paying
not still
attention.
there.
yeah, right. So you could rent it, you could wholesale it. So like you know how you can wholesale a cash deal to another
Mm,
investor and make like a fee for selling the contract? You can do the same thing with this. So you
Hmm.
can create a contract. Hey, we're going to take over your mortgage for 3%. I could take that to Amir and I say, hey, Amir, I'm giving the seller $10,000 to take over their payments. Would you be willing to give me $10,000 on top of that
Mhm.
for a fee for me to make? And I'll just sell you my position in the contract and I'll let you take over the payment.
Hmm. It's good.
You can do that. That's how I started out 3 years ago, was
Hmm.
just doing that. Like I got really good at I don't want to say convincing people. I got good at pitching sub two and saying, "Hey, let us take over your payments." People trusted me, and I think it's because I'm not trying to give myself a cookie. I am trustworthy. I feel like
Mhm.
I'm a good person. I feel like I keep my word. I don't lie. And so it's like I think people can feel that. And I think hopefully everyone in this community is that way. Like that's what I'm wanting to build is a group of people that are ethical, that can trust each other, that I can send Shaw a deal and say, "Hey, I don't have this under contract yet. I'm trusting that you won't steal it from me." Like that's the community I want. And so same thing with this. It's like if you're a trustworthy person and you keep your word, then you can be honest with them and say, "Hey, I don't think this is a good fit for me, but I have another buyer that would be willing to take over the payments. And they'll cut me like a little fee. Is that cool with you?" Yeah, that's great. Now you don't have to play this whole game of like, "Oh, I'm going to bring in my financial partners and just lie." It's like it's not, it doesn't create a good relationship to start out.
Yeah.
That's how I would pitch it. Now, what are these different things you could do? Rent, wholesale, wrap, you could flip it, you could do a lease option, all that, right?
mhm.
So, Shaw, you could choose whatever you want to do.
I have two quick questions about this. So at this point, when you buy it, on top of, so you take the deed, the mortgage still, so you still make the payments for the mortgage that is still the seller's name. So who are you going to be responsible for the tax and insurance and or maybe even HOA? So you're going to be responsible for that, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's going to be on your name.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And my other question is, if you do this, is it possible to move that to an LLC, or does it need
Yeah.
to be on your name? So
Yeah.
that's not a kind of problem. Because I know
No.
first time when you're trying to buy it with an LLC, the banks are going to be kind of difficult. They don't want you to do that. So I was wondering if that's going to be the same problem here.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of doing creative like this is like there's no that's the beauty and the scary thing about it is that anybody and everybody could do this deal.
Yeah.
I've I have borrowers right now that pay me that are illegal immigrants.
Nice.
I mean, they would never be able to buy a house without me,
Hmm.
you know? And I want to be able to give people that I feel like are good people,
Yeah.
give them an opportunity to own a home. Just like the house I live in right now, the guy gave me an opportunity to own a home when I couldn't go get a bank loan.
Hmm.
And all I wanted was to be able to own a home. And he looked at me and he said, I can tell that you're new to this and all that kind of stuff. He's like, but like I want to do the deal with you. And
Hmm.
that meant a lot to me. And I text him every single year. He'll text me. I'll text him, Merry Christmas, hope all is well. I pay him every month. And it's a really sweet relationship when it's done the right way. So
Hmm.
yeah, I want to give people that opportunity, and you make good money.
Mhm.
So, any other questions on like wraps or anything like that? Because I think that's kind of the main thing we've talked about.
Yeah, I want to make sure like I get it right. So for the wrap option, you're trying to sell that loan. I want to refer to the option that we were talking earlier. So you sell that to somebody, and then so they are going to finance it with like a mortgage company. Is that right?
Good question. Let's go through one more time. Let's say seller, let's say buyer, and let's say end buyer. There's kind of three parties here, right?
Right.
Okay. So we have the house. The second thing, what were the two pieces? Deed
Deed and the mortgage.
and the mortgage. Okay. So the way that I like to explain it is sub two. So we buy it sub two first, just like we talked about up here. So they transfer the deed to us. We have the deed. Now we're still making the mortgage payments, right? At that point.
Right.
So that's the first part. Now that we have ownership and we're making the mortgage payments, we're then going to look to try to find our buyer that we're going to act as the bank for. We're going to be their bank. So they don't have to go get a loan. They're going to pay us because we are giving them their loan, right?
Hmm.
So now we find our buyer. And what ends up happening here, this is the part where it can get a little tricky, is we're going to deed them the property because they're the owners. Okay. The only difference is now in this transaction, they're going to sign a deed of trust or a mortgage. In Tennessee, it's a deed of trust. Some states, it's a mortgage state. So same thing, same concept though, mortgage. They're going to sign a deed of trust to us, right? So what that means is this is our asset now because we don't own the house anymore. But what do we own? We own the mortgage that they
The
owe
note,
us,
yeah.
the note.
Hmm.
So if they stop making payments, this is what we use to be able to foreclose or repossess the house. Just like this mortgage here, the seller went to the bank and said, "Hey, I'm going to sign a deed of trust with you, bank, because
Hmm.
you're giving me this loan." It's the same thing. But now there's just two, that's four. There's two mortgages, right? We call this the underlying mortgage. And this deed of trust, this new one here, is just going to be the second mortgage.
Right.
And that second mortgage is what? Going to be wrapped around the underlying. That's the easiest way I can explain it.
Okay, so the end buyer pays you
Hmm.
for their mortgage payment or whatever,
Exactly.
and then you take that with a portion of that, you use it on the original mortgage, which is
Yeah.
still in the name of the original seller, right?
Yeah. You nailed it.
And the end buyer, and then when you sell it to an end buyer, then they're going to be responsible for the insurance and taxes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
You nailed it. Now you know wraps, at a high level. Like this is how it works.
Right, right.
There a
Yeah.
number that you usually try to get for the down payment? Is it usually around 10% of
Hmm.
purchase price? Okay.
Yeah. I try to get 10. I try to at least get 8%. It depends where you are, price point, condition of the home, um, how ready you are to be done with the house. um, those kind of things. Because if the house needs, here's the other thing about wraps that are awesome. As you come across some of these houses, let's compare like a last kind of minute scenario here. Actually, let me see if I can come across a deal or share a deal that we're actually doing right now. I think that would be easier. Um, okay, here's a good example. So there's a house that we have in Dixon um, that this house ARV, like what it's worth when it's fixed up, is probably around like 335. The house probably needs, gosh, I'd probably say like 60 grand. 50 to 60 to get it there, to get it to that 335. Now on the mortgage, they owe 250. Okay. So when you're looking at these numbers from a couple standpoints, number one, does this property make sense to flip? Absolutely not. All right, you'd lose a lot of money. Does it make sense to take it sub two? It does have a 3% rate, which is great. Does it make sense to take it sub two, put 60,000 into it, plus the 20 grand that it's going to take to reinstate the loan, so 80 grand, to then rent out the property and try to break even? Is that a good deal? I don't think so. Now, if you're only going to buy like one rental a year, then yeah, if you can secure 3% rates and like that's what you want to do, it's better than putting 20, to me, it's better than putting 20% down and paying full retail and getting a 7% rate. Like I'd rather do this for sure. It just depends what you're comparing it to. The second option, which is what we're doing now, is we're going to sell this property as is. That's the difference. When you wrap properties, you can sell them as is because you're offering financing to someone else that's willing to do the work because they're finally getting their dream to own a home.
Mm.
So I've sold houses that have cat pee on the floors, that have windows broken, that have a HVAC that's not working, that the deck is deteriorating. Like I've sold all of that.
Mm.
I'm not doing that to screw people over or like take advantage of people. I'm telling them, hey, I'm selling this house as is. If you're willing to do the work, I will give you a fair deal on this. And there's no inspections, there's no realtors, there's none of that. Most people are willing to do it, especially if they're a contractor, because they can get this 60 grand work done probably for like 15 or 20 if they just do it themselves. That's
Can
the
I
main thing.
question, Evan, how do you qualify somebody to buy a house for you? Do you do that just through your attorney? Or like, do you have a set process or?
You can there's someone called Call the Underwriter that I think does some pretty good stuff.
Mhm.
Um, he could help with like the specifications. I look for do they have a big enough down payment and do they make at least three times what the payment's going to be?
Okay.
That's what I do. I'm very simple about it, but there's you can get more formal if you want. Which starting out I probably would, and that's what I did at first. Um, so there's this. So the second option is to wrap it. So let's talk about that. What I personally would do is I would take what this number here, the 335, and then we want to subtract out, in my opinion, I usually take what I think the repairs are going to be, like 60 grand, and I subtract like half of that. So like 30, 35, because that's what it's probably going to cost them, not even. So I give them a little bit of a discount. So I subtract, let's say 35K. So that means their purchase price is going to be around 300,000 for this house, as is. Okay. And this is exactly what we're doing. We have a buyer right now lined up. Selling it for 300. They're going to put 30 grand down, which means they owe us what? 270?
Money.
Yeah, something like that at 7.9%. Our payment on the underlying is like 900 a month, and then their payment to us is like 1900 a month. So the difference too is you got a little bit of equity, not ton, like you got the 270 minus the 250. So you got maybe 20K in equity. But the thing is I mean, you basically went from having to sink 80 grand into a rental that broke even to selling a property as is, not having to put any money into it and making 900 bucks a month, plus like getting a little bit of equity. So that's a case where it's like, it's obviously I would not do the rental. But I also wouldn't pass on it either if you know that this is a thing. Because some of my best deals have been the one that need a lot of work. Like I sold one that needed 100 grand in work, as is.
Wow.
For your first deal, I would be careful. But now if the house was turnkey, if this house like didn't need hardly anything, maybe like 5 grand or like 10 grand, like some paint, then I would consider renting it out. Obviously, you're not going to cash flow as much, but if you like the rental game and you want to build like long-term wealth, and like appreciation and paying down the loan and you like this interest rate because like we may never see that again, then I wouldn't blame you for keeping it as a rental.
Mhm.
That makes sense to me.
Evan, Evan, a quick question.
Yeah.
Uh, what is your entry fee on the deal?
It's like 25 grand.
That'd be 5K in your pocket.
Yeah. But like after like closing costs and stuff like that, it's probably going to be like break
Right.
even.
Break even.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. You want to try to avoid leaving money in deals. That's a good question. I think that's the mistake I've made. Like if I can say like it's hard to say because like in the short term, it's a mistake and you kick yourself, but like long term, it's not a mistake and you're happy that you did it. Like I think there's been too many deals this year where I've left like money in deals that I shouldn't have, that I should have
Hmm.
either negotiated a better deal or I should have raised the money to not have to use my own. Because if you have a deal where, for example, you're going to leave 20,000 in the deal, even after getting your down payment, you're like, gosh, that's 20 grand that I'm not going to get back for a while.
2 years. Yeah.
Even if your equity position, if you're trading 20,000 to get an equity position of 80, like that makes sense all day long. Like to get a 4x return immediately on your money, like equity wise, like that's great.
Mhm.
But you also will go broke really quick doing that. So like just because it's a good financial decision from like an investment standpoint doesn't mean it's a good financial decision for you to make right now. And that's the lesson that I've learned like in 2025. I had one really low point this year that I was like, dude, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for stuff this month. Like I had one of those months earlier this year. And I don't care what people think. Like I'm very open about that. Like where I had my HELOC maxed out on my house, like I was in a spot. And
No
I said,
way.
huh?
No way. You didn't tell us about it.
I shut up. I told you that.
You didn't.
I did. I told the whole team. No,
Oh,
you're messing with me.
Yeah, he's right. I was there. I heard it.
All right. No, yeah. I mean I was at a point because we had five flips going on at one time. I was buying rentals, wraps sinking in 20, 30 grand a pop. Now all of a sudden you got 150, $200,000.
Mhm.
And I'm not rich. I'm not like, oh my gosh, like I got all this money. It's not like that. Just because you got money on paper in properties does not mean you have money sitting around. And so all of a sudden you go doing that, you go over budget on a couple houses, you got 150 grand in properties that are waiting to sell. Now when you get them back, great, I'm gonna have a ton of money coming in, but you got to be able to sustain that.
Mhm.
And if you can't, luckily, luckily I learned the skill of raising money. And
mhm.
I told a lender, hey, I need money for about 2, 3 months. And that's also why you buy rentals. Because I was like, hey, I got this great rental. You can put a lien against it, so you're secure. And if I don't make the payments, you can take the rental. And I was confident. It's like I know I have this money coming in. It's just I can't force it to come in quicker. So take it from me. Don't sink in too much money into these deals. Raise the money, raise the 20 grand, and pay a lender 150 to 200 a month from that just to use their 20,000. You take that 900 that you're making cash flow, pay them
Actually, a
150.
thousand.
Yeah. Oh
Thousand.
yeah, right. Whatever the number is. It's like that's what I would do personally instead of using your own as you're getting started. And then I think at some point I was talking with a friend today that is he's worth a lot of money. He's a big player. And he was telling me, he's like, man, I've been telling myself I'm gonna get off the hamster wheel. I'm gonna stop leveraging so much. I'm gonna pay off debt. And it really is like a cycle that I think we all get into because at first you kind of have to. Like in order to get started, unless you're starting out with a ton of money, it's like you have to use leverage. Like you can't just pay cash for every house. Like most people don't have the income to do that, I guess is what I'm saying. And so you have to leverage, but at some point, as you build up equity, you have to be able to get off the ride and say, okay, now instead of just continuing to leverage and leverage and leverage and leverage, okay, now I need to pay off some debt with the money that I've made. And I think that that's kind of, I'm starting to get to that point because then you think about risk or whatever. So sorry, I'm talking a lot about other stuff, but any
No,
other
it's all
questions?
good.
Yeah, yeah. It's the truth. It's real
For
life.
sure.
Yeah. Especially if you're gonna do it full time. If this is your only income, flipping and turning the money, flips, wholesales, those are your best friend. Amir knows that. Amir's seen our goals for this year. It's like almost all of our goals have been flipping, wholesaling, active income. But and I like rentals too. I
Hey,
mean, what's
yeah,
up?
yeah. Go on ahead. I have to ask this. Which
Okay.
part of Iran are you from? Shah.
Which part of Iran? There's no question about it. I'm from Isfahan.
There we go. I live in Isfahan. I'm right now in Isfahan.
You are,
Yep.
but it puts
I
like your
am, yeah.
location is Nashville, Tennessee.
That's just the name. Do you speak Persian as well?
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah, I
Speak
can I
it.
can connect with you after the chat. I don't want to
That's
yeah,
Yeah,
super
what's
for
up?
cool.
sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Amir,
Yeah.
Amir and
I
Amir
literally,
and I
I
work together.
literally, I literally, I literally joined the call when you were asking him if you're actually pronouncing his name correctly or not. Is it Shah? What is
Oh.
it? Right? And then I was like, oh, Shah Beshi. That's so Persian.
My last name gives it away, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's so cool, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah, let's connect after this and yeah, we can talk for sure.
cool.
For sure. Let's do it.
Any other questions or anything? I appreciate y'all being on the call. I at the beginning I was like, man, I hope that it's like two, three, four people that show up so we can just have like a very intimate like conversation. And this has been hopefully this has been helpful or like at least gotten some nuggets from it. Um, the hard part is getting to like, okay, now I understand a little bit of it. How do I actually go like do this? And that's what I want our next call to be about. It's like
Mhm.
really getting into that because and the hard part is there is a lot to it. It's like, are you going to find the deal yourself? Are you going to buy the deals from other people? Like that's kind of the first part. Second thing is like, where are you going to buy? Are you going to stay local? I would definitely recommend staying local if you can. Third thing, if I need to raise money, how am I going to do that? What's my plan for that? How am I going to find my buyers? And we can talk about all that. So, and if you have questions along the way, that's why I have the community. Like, ask those questions throughout the week. Like, I would highly encourage you to use it. Like, I want people to use it more. And like, it's free game. Like, I'm trying to build a good community of people that actually are doing deals. So,
Um,
any other questions on this or
can I
anything
ask
else?
one more question just specific to
Sure. I
Eric?
hey, I got like 10 minutes. I'm good.
Okay.
Whatever.
Um, so I just wanted to go back to if does that sound like the right path of action of trying to find this other signer? And then if we can't track her down, would the automatic next step be to go? I mean, obviously I got to talk to the attorney too, but would the next step in your mind be to go and try to get a judge, a commissioner to sign off on not having to have this other title holder sign off?
Have you gotten advice that they would be able to do that?
I haven't, but they did already order that the property is supposed to be sold. They did that in 2024, and then the amount split between the title holders. And so
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if that we can't find the other title holder, if that would be, I haven't gotten any
I
counsel
see.
yet.
Yeah, if there's two people on title, right? Two people.
Yeah.
If there's two people on title, both of them will have to sign
Okay.
unless that person is dead and you can give proof of that, like a death certificate,
Okay.
or they purchased it together in some kind of like LLC, or they have some kind of like operating agreement that only one person needs to sign, or they have something like that. But I
Okay.
doubt I doubt they do. So you need to get him to sign, and maybe you hire like a private investigator to go find the person.
That's what my husband said. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it gets
And
crazy
I
over
just
here.
wasn't sure if I did that, how much money I'd want to, sink into that without,
Yeah,
I mean, that could be kind of tricky too, but
it could be tricky. I would look into seeing how much it was.
okay. That's
And honestly, what I would do if I were you is I would go ahead and get the purchase and sales agreement signed from one party.
okay.
I would do that today because last thing you want to do is do all this work and then find the person, and then the first person's like, ah, actually, I changed my mind.
Yeah. That's a
And
really good idea. Okay,
yeah,
I'll do that. And
yeah.
it's fine to have like both signers and then just get her signature because I was gonna
Hmm.
run the PSA I have by the attorney to make sure it's okay, and then
Yeah.
I'll get on that, getting it
And I
signed.
would consult with again, I would consult with Marcelo and Creative TC.
Okay. Oh,
Just
that's right.
text me, and I'll share his information with you.
Okay, I'll do that right after the call.
Yeah. Who else? Anything else? I'm down for whatever.
No, I just want to like learn more about like where to get started. I know there's a ton of resources online. I'm wondering if you have any preference. But
Yeah.
things I'm pretty new to the subject too. So,
Hmm.
what do you think I can get started to learn more and hopefully start getting into deals?
Um, what's let me ask you this. Your next deal that you buy, do you want it to be a rental or like a flip or like what would you like to do
It's
ideally?
a good question. It really depends. I'm trying to create cash flow at this point. So my primary objective is to get into deals that I can create cash flow so I can just kind of live comfortably off of that as I'm making this a full time. But if I get into a deal and be like, hey, I can just like just sell it to somebody else and then walk away with 20, 30, I don't know, 40K, like I also like I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. So it kind of really depends on the deal, but
Yeah.
ideally I can just create cash flow at that point and kind of with not too much risk. I know there's always risk with this stuff, but I don't want to like take too much risk also at the same time.
You're smart for that. Um, okay. So if it's mainly creating cash flow, you got two strategies. You got wraps and you got rentals. What would you prefer, you think? It's up to you. Both are great.
Based on currently where I am, I'll kind of briefly tell you about it. Like, kind of creating some kind of a midterm rental thing, like minimum furnishing, and like renting it to like three people. And I know it's like a little more headache, but since I've been able to create more cash flow and
Yeah.
have lower vacancies based on that, so I'm thinking that creating a rental might be able to kind of be a better strategy for me based on like kind of the skills that I have.
Cool. That's great. Okay, so rentals. So let's start with like where you could look because you can figure out stuff later. Like if you have questions on how to put the deal together, how to do the contracts, how to close it, like all that kind of stuff, like I can help you with all that. But how do you start at least looking for deals and practice that first? So one would be the easiest thing would be to go on Facebook and I would type in like sub to like Facebook groups. It's gonna be
Hmm.
like it's probably gonna say subject to.
Right.
You just look up either one. So look up those. The main one is I think it's like
Thanks,
creative.
Moby.
Yeah. It's like creative finance with Pace Morby or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I would look up that one. And what I would do is I would go in. Well, maybe I can just show you now. Hold up. Why not? So what I would do then is I would go into creative. Like I had a little group that I was running to for a little while, a couple years ago. Now I'm back into it apparently. All right. So this one's got 174,000 members. And then what you would do is you would just go and you can see all these deals. Like here's one right here. 3% interest. This is in Texas. People are posting deals all the time. But what you could do is you go to the search bar and then I would look up Tennessee. Let's see. This guy's really good, Gregory. He posts a lot of stuff. Portfolio sale. There's some in Tennessee here. Like this one's in Gatlinburg, for example.
Mhm.
3.5% interest rate. So you can find deals on here.
I'm assuming these are the people who are selling deals, right?
Exactly. These are people that are like wholesaling deals like we were talking about.
Hmm.
So they would be selling their contract. I know Jeff is great. He's a really good guy. My Tennessee Home Solution, they're amazing. I love the people there and they're awesome. So like they're selling a deal, entry fee $20,000, 5.6% rate. Um, it's 2023 build, so really, basically brand new. So those are kind of some like opportunities. That's like the first thing I would do when you're looking. The second thing is you could learn how to find them yourself, which is always you're always going to get the best deal that way, but you're also going to spend more time and headache figuring it out. So if you want to talk through that, we can always, meet up or talk through some of that. But those are kind of the two ways. So I would start at least on Facebook. I bought my first wrap through Facebook. So
And you're mostly staying local to your area, right? Is that what you're saying?
sometimes I wish we were. We do all across Tennessee, Alabama, and we do
Mhm.
some stuff in Georgia. So
Okay.
kind of all over. We go more for the motivation and the problem than we do like the location.
Does that like is like basically being remote, like how much you have to drive, the time that it takes, go back and forth with the stuff, does that I'm assuming that's worth it, but I'm just trying to understand like how.
Yeah, no, sometimes, yeah. No, I mean, you kind of start to develop like ways to not have to do that as much. Like, getting agents to go out there and take pictures for you, getting inspectors to go out there, getting your contractors to go out there, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I would try to stay local if I could, at least starting out doing stuff like this. And you've already
Mhm.
got a couple rentals under your belt, so that's great. And when you did those, did you buy those like with a DSCR loan or did you put like 10-20% down? Like how did you do that?
The first one was my primary residence,
Okay.
and I went out of my way. I have taken some risks. Sometimes when I think about it, I was like, I'm kind of reckless. But I got this 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom, 3.5 bathroom property, and my thought was I'm gonna rent rooms, so basically that helps with some of the mortgage, and also I'm thinking about at that point when I was like buying it, I was like, if I want to buy like a 1 bedroom, I have to pay 2K out of pocket every month. Basically, if it's like a 2 bedroom that I can rent one room, then I'm paying 1,500. If it's a 3 bedroom that I'm renting two of the rooms, then I'm roughly paying about 1,000. So even
Mm,
though I had to pay a little more down upfront and it was a little higher risk because I had to take over a bigger loan, but like in terms of like the cash flow, I could save more of my money.
yeah,
I
that's great.
did that, and then when I was moving out of that house, I was like, oh, it's easier to just like rent one room than the entire place. And trying to coordinate all this time and moving out, so I just replaced myself with somebody else, left some of the furniture there for people. I didn't want to look like a dorm. I hate that when it happens. I care about my tenants. I was just trying to like make it more comfortable for them, and then I was like, oh, I'm actually like, if I wanted to rent the whole unit together, it would have I would have rented for 2,400 roughly a month, and then I was making more than 3K. So I was like, this is pretty good. I should,
Yeah.
because I don't like, if I wanted to rent a whole unit like just all together, then I had to go like pay 500, 600 out of pocket every month.
Hmm.
So that property is like mostly kind of breaking in, but then there were some lessons learned from that, and then I bought another unit in East Nashville. I learned that there are a lot of people who, like, Lenox Village is not close to town for a lot of younger folks. That's more of like a family area. So I learned that it's like pretty hard to do that. So when I bought another one in East Nashville, that was like 10 minutes of drive, kind of 10, 15 minutes to the city. It was a lot easier. It was like
Mm.
a brand new unit, and I kind of create some other fees. So I got tenants and I could charge a lot more. So I went like, again, like I could rent the unit for 2,800s, but now I'm making almost like 3,500s like from renting that. Of course, it comes with its own headaches. But I was like, and I know it's just, I mean, you live in Nashville. It's just like people, everybody wants a nice place to live, but people can't afford to have their own place. So if you can somehow create the situation that they pay less, it's a nice
Yeah.
place. People would love that deal, and I didn't take that much. Like within like a month,
Mm,
month and a half, like all 3 rooms were rented, and they're paying
yeah.
pretty good.
I love that.
Um,
It's
so
great.
yeah, I'm kind of like thinking maybe I don't know, extend that. It's a little headache, but also because it's kind of a niche, I don't have a ton of competition out there.
No.
No property manager wants to do this.
Mm-mm.
And I don't want either, but I've gotten a hold of it and I'm like, if I can expand this,
Mm-hmm.
that probably would be a nice way to kind of create more cash flow.
I agree, dude. I'll let you manage some of mine.
I'm
Because
down.
yeah, yeah, especially once you get like a good process going like that. I mean, it sounds like you already do. And I mean, it would make more sense, I think, over time to just focus on one niche and go for it. And this and getting them sub two or seller financing or whatever it is, this would just help you scale that a little bit quicker instead of having to go through banks. Because now you don't have to qualify, you don't have to have the income, blah blah blah. You don't even have to have the down payment. The money doesn't
Yeah,
have to be it doesn't have to be seasoned in your account. You can go get someone else. You can go get my 20 grand and use mine.
yeah.
Like you can do that kind of stuff, and you could be five, 10 a year if you wanted to, like easily.
Right. Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying you
Like,
should, you could. And so like that's the kind of thing. And then the other thing I'll kind of end it on this. Some of the best advice I've ever been given was someone had told me that a good deal, simply put, is a deal that makes your life better. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that. It's like we look at all the numbers and then it's like, but if you got to drive out to you got to fly out to Houston, Texas every couple months to deal with your 6 tenants. It's like, okay, on paper it's good, but that made my life a lot worse. And like,
yeah,
what's the point in doing all this is to like give ourselves a better life and have like better security and better like freedom, hopefully, not like imprison ourselves further. So just keep that in mind as you're doing these deals. I have to remind myself that every day. Same thing with you, Tally. Like literally, it's like, doing this deal make my life better? And if it does, go for it, you know? So
yeah.
hopefully that helps. Thank y'all for being here. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
I
speaking with
appreciate the
y'all.
time.
Yeah, I hope y'all have a great New
Thanks for
Year's.
having
I'll
us.
see y'all next week.
All right. Happy
Sounds
All
New
right.
good.
Year.
All
See
right.
y'all. Bye.
See ya.
Same here.
Take care.
Peace out.